Hey guys, here with another best of 3 for StarCraft. You know what, this one's going to be a little interesting because I have no idea if these are going to actually be good games. I actually never do, I just kind of randomly choose and then hope that it's all good. But in this one in particular, I don't actually know, but I want to know what happened to Zest in the Alina League. I didn't get that far. If you were watching, it was on my channel this weekend. And it all kind of started here versus an unknown player, currently a barcode. He also went by, oh boy, QZDDB, so QuizDib, and apparently he's a Chinese Zerg player. So I want to figure out what happens here, and I can already see something is afoot. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it is Zest. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is QuizDib, which probably translated something a lot better, but oh my god, is that how this happens? What? Okay, well, first and foremost, see a pylon on the high ground versus a Zerg player, you know something is up, or alternatively that you're watching a Gold League match. But Zest is definitely not Gold League, and he does occasionally try and mix things up, because he's usually not a very cheesy player. I mean, he'll throw all-ins out, but as far as cannon rushes go, you just don't really think of Zest that much, and if you do, you usually think of his failures, to be honest. So this is just a very weird game. What is happening? We have a pool, I mean, there's a gas pool hatch, and then a lair. Did I accidentally download someone's, like, replay against their buddy who's like never played StarCraft before, but they both haven't played StarCraft before? I'm actually super confused. No, okay. Well, so Zest sees that his opponent for a pool first and decides that trying to cannon rush that is not the best idea. Unfortunately, when you do put everything on the high ground, you are looking for a more committed cannon rush. The Forge Fast Expand, as it were, does still sometimes also happen, but again, not really in professional leagues. It usually is the balls to the wall type, bringing all the robo and all that good stuff. Oh, this also wouldn't have been it because you got a gateway too. Yeah, this is just all weird. So this Nidus Worm it was like the only option. You know, this early of a lair, you actually can't afford to do like shit with a Spire. I mean, I guess you could try, and hope they don't go with Stargate first, but in this case, it wasn't really a Stargate first, it was a Forge first. The point is there'd be cannons available, so either way. So definitely no Spire. Yeah, Nidus Worm. It's the earliest Nidus Worm you can really get. If you want to be as cheesy as this guy and just kill Protoss real lickety split, then make sure to go to patreon.com/rolymoly and grab this replay. That's all I can say about that. It is going to finish just barely before speed, or barely as speed finishes, I guess. The head of the Nidus Worm will finish. That's actually quite perfectly timed. And unfortunately, Zest does not have a lot of sight. You just don't have a lot of sight as Protoss, or really any race, over there this early in the game. So that's quite a shock. And then I suppose an instant tap out, right? The Oracle is going to try and save the day, but she's only got a limited amount of energy. No production here. There is a single Zealot that's in the middle of the map. No, it's a probe. Oh, there it is. It was trying to kill the Nidus Worm. But it doesn't really matter. There's too many Lings in the main. Now there's also Lings in the natural, and probe pools are not going to cut it. What? What? What is this game? Zest. Oh, Zest, they only oversaw there was a gas pool. And then left with the probe. Oh my god. Alright, well that's how game number 1 goes, guys. Well, I'm looking forward to game number 2. Alright, game number 2 on Winter's Gate. This would have been Zest's map choice, since he did lose that last game in, I mean, he was doing something weird. His opponent was doing something weird. Zest is weird, I think, was ultimately worse, but it also has to do with me not having a lot of confidence in Zest's very early game cheese. I hope he plays a little more standard this time. And then again, to reintroduce the barcode as a Chinese Zerg, I believe I was told, called QuizDib, who is kind of living up to the name of really any up-and-comer. As far as the, well, I would say Korean scene, and Quizib does play on the Korean server. He was GM on Korea. What is this wall? What is... Okay. I can't explain the series, guys. The usual thing is that, you know, anywhere outside of Korea, maybe you get a decent amount of players that kind of come up by just being good overall. You know, they got some solid decision making, some solid macro. They got a variety of builds. They started, you know, really making their play very dynamic, but still mostly stock standard. And then you have Korea, which a lot of pros that we know and love came up by being really cheesy. And then they worked on their macro. So they have the variety of builds, they have the micro, and they even have some pretty strong decision making because of the weird, wacky situations cheesing puts you in, but their macro might falter later on. And if they try to start playing solid macro games, they actually just fall behind very, very quickly despite being GM in Korea, which sounds impressive. But when you compare it to the actual professionals who kind of take up most of the top 50 because they have a bunch of ults and stuff like that, it's actually not that great. So to see someone try and cheese out the better known player definitely makes a lot of sense. It also makes a lot of sense in this matchup where I do think that the Zerg all-ins are just a little more potent. The Protoss response is kind of on a nice edge. They certainly can respond well, but they, you know, of course they got to scout it first, which the earlier it is, the harder it is to scout. And then they also have to, you know, kind of account for more things than I suppose a Terran would, for instance, who just builds a wall and is like, well, you know, now I just got to worry about one base, right? With my building, no problem. So this all makes a lot of sense to me, except the actual build orders. But this build order right here coming up from our barcode is actually totally just, that's normal here. No fast layer, no Nidus Worm, just a good old-fashioned speedling all-in. He's going to take the forward third hatch, not just because the probe denial could have come in, but also because it's going to be just slightly quicker reinforcement, which is kind of a neat thing. It also means that the Adept is going to get stuck on this third base, not scouting the lack of a natural, and certainly not getting into the main base. I mean, the Adept should be able to scout the lack of a third, but now with this shade as opposed to the very first shade, that's already a significant difference, and the defense against the ever-finishing speed will be a lot less, it'll be more lackluster. There we go. English hard. The Adept's still not scouting that third, by the way, which is on the way, but isn't actually going to be used. This wall is absolutely atrocious. I don't get it. There's also a spot over here. The wall was on the outside. The pylon was on the outside. I don't understand how this works out well. I guess Zest has been trying to make a wall to the north work and then hope he doesn't get cheat. Well, this just explains everything, guys. Zest had an out-of-body experience and someone else took over his body and made him play super weird. And then he faced the cheesiest Zerg that you could ever face. And that together means that Quizib 2-0 Zest in under 7 minutes and advances on to face Supernova in the Alima League. And us, the viewers, were just sitting there stunned that Zest would go 0-2 to someone unknown. But now it makes perfect sense. So if any of you were out there having the same question watching this week's Alima League, now you know. And if you want to figure out anything else, any other mysteries of the bracket, make sure to head to the Patreon and support it and get those replays yourself. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.